Oh my goodness. I don't know what happened with the time. That's so weird. The time scheduled by, I mean, I always do it for the same time, and I remember setting it for 11:45 a.m. I did it yesterday. I don't know. It's weird. When I set the time for the live stream to start, it's through StreamYard. It's not on YouTube. So when I just went and looked at it, it's like, sure enough, it's at 9:45 p.m. It's like, I didn't set it for that. I know I didn't. So anyways, I don't know what happened, but it's always friggin' something when you're doing everything yourself. I'm sitting here like trying to set the exposure on the camera because it looks like terrible when I first. This Logitech camera I have is junk. It's like it's got auto exposure and stuff on it, and I set it to the auto exposure. It just looks blown out and crazy. I don't even have that much light going in here. So then I'm in like manually adjusting it and trying to make it look good because it sucks. And then I'm seeing you guys talking about, wait a minute, what's up with the time? And it's just like one thing after another. So maybe I need an assistant full time at this point to make my meals. Change my strings. Tell me what to do. Wake me up. Tell me to go to bed. Tell me to be more responsible. Eat better. Eat more fiber. All right. Let's talk about guitar stuff. Look at this thing. The White Whale from Crazy Tube Circuits. This is a reverb and tremolo. And the reason it's so big is because it's a true spring reverb. So if you hit it, it goes through your amp. Pretty cool. As with all Crazy Tube Circuits pedals, it sounds great. Wrote a little piece of music for that last night, and gonna make a little video for it today. Hopefully knock it out pretty quick, I think, because it's cool. I wrote a stylized, I don't know, succinct, what's the word I'm looking for? Piece of music that I think shows it off well. I'm like, that's good enough. It's exactly what it needs. Kind of I don't know, vibey, sparse piece of music. Anybody ever hear of Jim Campolongo from New York City? He's such a great guitar player. And he had this album out called Orange many years ago. And so for inspiration, I went and listened to Orange because it's so great for just vibey guitar tones with interesting. Jim does really, like, he's not afraid to play dissonant. And there's everything's always moving. There's always some modulation and a lot of like ambience on the tone, reverb and stuff. And he's a telly guy. And I just don't know how to describe his style other than it's just like a really interesting. I went and saw him play live once in New York. It was great. I went up to him and I'm like, I bought that album Orange. It's so good. And he goes, oh, you were the one. I thought it was so funny, but it's such a great guitar record if you haven't listened to it. And if you like kind of Americana rock and roll meets country meets like there's stuff on it that sounds like full on Chuck no, excuse me. I was gonna say Chuck Atkins, full on Chet Atkins. And there's stuff on it that sounds like kind of swing, and there's stuff on it that sounds a little more like maybe Danny Gatton or something, or I don't know. It's just a really, really great record. Anyway, I fully enjoyed it. So I went and listened to that for a little inspiration. Yeah. Victor says he plays a 58 Tele. Yeah, I think he had his own signature model Tele, which is great. I think Fender gave him a signature model. It's like people don't talk about him enough. He's such a good guitar player. Really interesting. Well, I hope I've got 97 people online. I hope that time thing wasn't confusing. I don't know what, I mean, it's just always friggin' something in life, isn't it? And it's like, I don't know, the older I get, I misspell things in videos, descriptions, and I screw up the, time on the, I don't know, man. It's just, it is what it is. I'm an idiot. Generally speaking, if I'm in town and I'm not on tour and stuff, it's always going to be the same time here. So I honestly don't know what happened. I said it in StreamYard. I remember picking 11:45 a.m. Boom. And then something happened between StreamYard and YouTube. So whatever. Sorry. I was going to answer this question. What's a good audio interface? I use UA. I'm very happy. X8P and 8P, and then also the Apollo Twin. Really great. Love them. No complaints. Rock solid UA. So that's my thing. I'm also friends with the Apogee folks, and I think they make great stuff too. So I would look between UA and Apogee and just pick something that you like. How often do I change guitar strings? Rarely. When I'm doing it myself, I should do it more, to be honest. But the reality is that I'll do it in a flurry sometimes. Like I was here the other day and I did 3 guitars in one because I was like, I need these guitars are great guitars, and I'm not playing any of them because the strings are so old they sound like crap, so I can't play them in a video or whatever. So I changed strings on my my blue Sir. I changed strings on my silver signature. This guy. I saw somebody mentioning the other day that they were looking for one of these, and they were waiting for a local dealer to get one in. I just wanted to give some props. So there's like a dealer in St. Louis, and you know, there's a lot of stores right now where they got this guy in stock on Reverb. So if anybody's looking for one, they ain't tough to find right now, and it's beauty. Inca Silver, come on. Just look at that thing. Just look here, like, look at it. It's gorgeous. This was my prototype for this model. And the only thing that on this guitar that isn't like the production one is we never put a backplate on it for some reason. I don't even know why. So it's got no screws drilled or anything. There's no backplate. But if you get one, it'll have a backplate and it'll be the same pickguard material as that. Yeah. Anyways, lots. If you look on Reverb, there's quite a few of them because they got a ton of orders for that guitar when it was introduced, and then it took a long time to, you know, because it just does to make them all. Light it up. Oh, it looks good with that light back there. Futuristic, like Star Wars. Looks like a lightsaber. Anyway, what was I saying? My ADD kicking in, or ADHD rather, since I'm an adult. Yeah, so they got a ton of orders, and then a lot of them got all made in kind of the same batch, and then they all got kicked out. So they're out there in shops and stuff like that. Not hard to find right now. Check out Reverb and you'll see them. Yep. What else have we got here? I bet he changes him less now that he plays Paradigms. You know, it's not so much for me the breakage thing seems good on Paradigms for sure, but to me, there's no getting around that strings get flat spots, and that always gets weird to me. You know, like especially on the D string, you'll feel that's always my marker for it's time to change. I'll run my hand under the D on a guitar, and when it goes and you feel it all the way down, it's like, oh, let's get rid of the string because they just don't vibrate right anymore. I don't think when they've got a bunch of pits in them, you know. Things get weird with the intonation and stuff, I find. Am I crazy? Anybody else notice that? That's one thing. Let's discuss. There's something we've never talked about on the show. Pits in strings, and does it affect, you know? But it's also just a marker to me, because sometimes I forget when the last time I changed was. And if they sound okay and still decently, you know, they're not totally dead, then I'll just leave them on a lot because I just want to get work done. I'd rather do that I'd rather be playing than changing strings. So. Any experience with the new Sir bridges he's making? Yeah, I have one on this guitar. Show it to you. I love this guitar. This guitar was kind of it was a prototype that they made back when we did my signature model. And see how they did it with a natural back and a natural neck. So we don't have this color currently, at least. That's being made. I've grown to really like it. When I first saw it, I thought it was weird with the blue top and the wood back and stuff. And now I look at it and I'm like, it's actually really nice. And cream rings, you know, it's kind of just an oddball sort of version of my double humbucker, you know, original signature. So anyways, this guitar was a shop guitar that they just had at the shop for a long time. And I just kind of, you know, I'd play it when I went out there and, you know, we'd use it to test amps and stuff like that. But then they were like, hey, we want you to try this new bridge that we've got. And I was like, they were like, can we pop it on that, you know, prototype of your guitar and you can check it out? And I was like, sure. So I took the guitar home with the bridge on it to try it. And I ended up loving the guitar. It's just really resonant. It's got a great sound, this guitar. And I don't know how much of that is the bridge and how much is just it's a great guitar. But I took it out and played it on a Five for Fighting gig, and I loved it. And I'm like, oh, I like this guitar, and now I like the finish and the way it looks and everything. So that's got me thinking. But anyway, like it's cool, right? With the wood, I don't know, I dig it. Even though I don't know, it's a weird, it's like blue with the cream rings and everything, but I like it. It's growing on me. So the bridge, they make two versions. It looks a lot like a 510 and everything, but the plate, says "Sir" right here. On the arm, I don't know what the heck, but the arm's lovely. Like it doesn't get. It's just perfect. The amount of tension on and then it doesn't rattle around. It's just amazing. And the whole thing that John did with this bridge is it was all about the way that the string comes out of the block and stuff, and the way it's drilled and everything in the block. And he was trying to fix some of the tuning issues that you find on a traditional bridge like this. And with, theories that he had about the depth of where the string is in the block, I think, and the way that it breaks and stuff over the saddle comes out. And long story short, it stays in tune really good, I must say, for just being a traditional, this is the bent saddle version, and it's really nice. And they also make a solid saddle version that he's pretty hot on, I think. So, and I really like it. I mean, it's a really nice feeling from, and sounds great. This guy, I don't know how much of it is the bridge, but this guitar sounds terrific. It's really resonant, and it really stays in tune quite good. So like I love it. As far as a traditional, a 2-post that I've got here, because I have some like on my blue guitar and stuff, this one stays in tune the best and sounds great. So it's a win, I think, this bridge. I love it. No blowing smoke. Sounds really good, and I'm enjoying playing the guitar. This is going to be, I think, my Five for Fighting guitar. We've got a tour in August, just a couple weeks. Then I'm going to take this one out, and maybe one more as a backup. I'll probably bring 3 if the guitars are. I'm not sure for the tour if we're bringing everything from here, or if we have to fly out to the first date. In which case, I'll backline guitar, other guitars, and just bring this. If I'm able to bring guitars from here, I'll probably bring this one of my HSS models, and something to play one song on slide on. So that's what I always do. That's that. I don't know what else we talking about here. Are you going to be at the Sir booth at the Sweetwater Guitar Fest? I'm on tour then, so no. I'm not. I think it's just going to be Sir guys. I don't know if they're bringing anybody. Maybe they're bringing Andy or something because he's close to there. I'm not sure. Or closer than me. But no, I won't be. I know there's a public day. There's a just kind of I don't know, industry day or something. And then there's a public day again, which is good. I think that it's great that they're doing that again. That I believe there's a public day at gearfest, so it's nice. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Here's an interesting thing. Check this out. You did set the correct time because it said live in 4 hours ago. Then it suddenly changed. It wasn't my fault. For those just joining, the time was all screwed up. It said I was going live at 9 tonight or something, but it's like, there you go. What the hell, man? YouTube changed it randomly. Ghost in the machine. Anyways, but thanks for letting me know that. Appreciate that. Eston says, hello, and everyone here. Hello, Pete, and everyone here. Nice to see you. Have you ever tried 7-gauge strings? No, but I think I have, somewhere I have a set of Billy Gibbons 7-gauge strings, like his signature set or whatever. I think they're 7. I'm like, I'm not going to try those. I'm just going to keep them. Sounds really, really light. That'd be too light for me. I'm good with 9s right now. Do I know how many of my signature guitars have been sold? I don't, like, that have actually been, I mean, it was a pretty substantial number of the HSS they got, but I don't know an exact tally, to be honest. It was over 200 or something that there was at least orders for, I think. So, but I don't know exactly. And then the original one, I don't know. I'd have to go and ask them for an accounting of of everything, and that would be guitars that were built for dealers, sold to dealers, and not necessarily sold out there in the real world to, So not sure. Long story short. How did I miss the Sir Sweetwater announcement? That's going to be trouble. Yeah, they went live with it, and it wasn't like a huge announcement or anything like that. They just kind of put up the page and all the products one day, you know. So, but yeah, they're at Sir now. So, do I polish my frets? Not really, no, because almost everything I play on a regular basis is stainless steel, and they never need it compared to nickel frets, which get kind of grimy. Nickel fret guitars, sure, I'll use a little, what do they call it? 0000 steel wool, or I've got some of those like fret polishing pads from DiMarzio or different things that I have in a couple of those like guitar tool kits here. So sometimes I'll do that. But yeah, stop it. My wallet is crying. Which tuner pedal do I use? I use the Polytune from TC, which is the Polytune, the black one, the small mini. I've got two of those. I have a new little pedal board, and I'm putting one on there too. So I'll probably make a video of that pedal board, but also I'll show you guys the board soon. It's really cool. It's like a 3/4 size version of my main board, or maybe smaller. It's on a 24-inch Temple board. So my main board is 30 inches, I think. This one's 24. Smaller switcher. Almost all the capabilities of my bigger board. Just a couple. I used smaller pedals. So I've got an Illumine or whatever reverb on there. I think it's called, from Nunaber. And I've got a Boss DD200 for delay. And then I've got a wetter box to do the wet dry thing, because I had one here from Gig Rig. So I can still do the parallel, not wet dry, sorry, kind of wet dry, but parallel effects thing in the post path of my amps. And then I've got a lot of similar stuff up front: a compressor, a fuzz, a Klon style, an Archer. And I also put a Tone X on the board, actually, just because I thought, well, if I put the Tone X on the board in the last loop on the switcher, I could actually go direct with this board, even for practicing or for just doing some recording or whatever. I could just have some amp models in there and call them up if I need them. And if it was like, fly into a quick gig, or what if you got to go to TV or something like that, well, I can just actually plug this board in DI. So kind of cool. Or I can use it to put captures, or whatever they call them, of pedals. Like I could put overdrives in the Tone X and then use it as another drive when I'm using the amp. It's kind of cool. So it's a fun board. So, but anyways, I digress. That I've got TC tuners on all my boards. That's not really true. I have a Shure wireless receiver that also functions as a tuner on my Quad Cortex board, but almost all my boards. Two of them. Okay. What else are we talking about? Why does the G string always sound really wrong when it's perfectly in tune? The G is a tricky one. It's the thinnest. Sorry. What was I going to say? It used to be wound Gs, right? Because of just kind of like, it can be a little squirrely when you've got a string tuned to G and the tension that a G string is. And when it's not wound, when it's plain, so you can bend it and stuff, it's just right on the edge of not being super, like ideally you would have probably like a 20 gauge G string or something. And then it would be more in tune and not so kind of randomly. It's just tough, because you can kind of, just by pushing kind of hard on it, you can raise the pitch of it. It's just a weird string, to have as kind of a plain string, I guess is what I'm getting at, an unwound string. So, G strings all used to be wound before the 60s. So, then us rock guitar players came along and demanded slinkies and all that, Ernie Ball. But I think it's got something to do with that, just tension. And so, yeah, it can be a little squirrely. More often than not, I find it's the B, though, and the way it sits against the G. The B is a big culprit for, because, with a lot of the kind of guitar player chords that we play, sort of at least fifth string root bars and stuff, the third always ends up being on the G, and that third is kind of imperfect. That's the whole Eddie Van Halen tuning thing, where you sort of temper the tuning of the B string, and then it can sound really amazingly in tune or amazingly out of tune on other chords, depending. So the guitar is just imperfect, and it's difficult at the end of the day. But You could always go to a heavier gauge if you feel like, or try a wound G if you don't do a lot of bending. You probably notice it seems more stable, you know. Does Sir consider all their guitars custom shop, or is it a division? You know, they say we are a custom shop. That's basically their whole thing. But they do make, especially since they started the signature model thing, set models of guitars, you know, and sometimes it's only for a period of time, like a run of, you know, the Mahogany Deluxe that inspired this guitar comes to mind. It was a series, you know, that they put out where they made, you know, have flame top, certain finish. It was like one spec, and they made a bunch of them, and then they'll sell them to dealers as, you know, well, here's this mahogany. It's sort of a model. And you know, I guess they called it the Pro Series for a while. Now they don't call it that. I don't know what they call it anymore, but the Classic Pro, you know, the Pro Series for a while. Those were like a set spec that you could get in like 4 different finishes, but it was like basically their basic model of a S style or T style guitar or whatever, you know. Most of the guitars they make are custom, I think, you know, custom orders from dealers, and they say we're a custom shop. That's what we are. But you know, we do these. The advantage to making a run, or and why my guitars, for instance, signature model, you know, I earn something off of them, but even so, they're cheaper than a lot of the other Sir guitars. The reason is because when you've got a set spec and only a few colors to deal with, they just make them. They don't. There's less time and complexity involved in the builds when there's not like, oh, it's got a shelf on the headstock and the shelf has to be finished body color, and the you know, they want a side jack on this one, and then they want, there's all this custom configuration stuff, and all that adds to the time of a build and the complexity of a build, and you know, one guitar at a time kind of things with very specific things that you cannot screw up, because you know, if somebody orders a side jack on a guitar and then it gets a front jack on it, it's like my Cadillac Green Sir S happened. The dealer won't take it, or the person doesn't want it. It's like, no, that's not what I ordered. And that's a major screw up. You know, then they got to build a whole nother guitar, and just imagine the resources and the time and all that. So it just is, makes sense, right? When it's a custom shop, it's a more detailed, exacting process. And, you know, it's a custom guitar, or if it's a line guitar, they can make them more efficiently and stuff, I think. And then they can charge a little less, and that gets passed on to the customer. So, yeah. Okay, what else we got here? You guys are talking about coated strings. I'm not really a fan of coated. I think Paradigm might have a light coating on them. Aren't they supposed to have like a light coating or something? I don't know. Maybe not. But have you ever built your own pedal or amp, such as the Stu Mac kits? I have not. I kind of have always wanted to build an amp. I've wanted to go to Egnator. Bruce Egnator does an amp build class over a weekend where you actually build an amp, you know, with him, and all the parts are there and everything, and it's like you put it together. But I've always wanted to go out there and do that class, just because I thought it would be really good for me just to understand a little bit deeper the topology and the workings of, you know, oh, this is exactly what capacitors do, and this is what resistors do, and to understand circuits a little more. Because when I'm talking about amplifiers, I've got just enough knowledge to be dangerous, you know, with you know, understanding things like the, you know, how the various, you know, the signal flow through an amplifier. But when I'm talking to say to John Sir, it'd be nice to have a little more detailed knowledge, I think, about like, well, why don't we look at this stage and changing this value to such and such, you know. And it would just add to my ability to communicate, kind of like learning how to, you know, talk about music theory, or, you know, and then just, it's a language at the end of the day where you can just communicate with other musicians better, right? Well, I feel like I wish I knew that language of electronics a little more. I like the blue guitar. Take my money. Well, I'm thinking about it. You know, definitely, I think it's pretty with the. I will say the one thing about my humbucker model, you know, the backs are black on most of them except for the gold top version, and the neck is black, and it's hard to paint and get. They right from the get go, they were like, it's going to be hard to do, and I'm like, can we just try it? And they were like, sure. And it ended up, you know, the backs are kind of this really dark charcoal color of the necks, and they look amazing. but it's not an easy thing to do. However they fill the grain and then make them look like really, really, really good. So that's got me thinking about, this, because I do like this finish and stuff. And so anyways, more to come on that. Too early to talk about, but EVH has a video on how to set up the 78 white stripe tribute guitar. Seems like a lot, but you can get close to the same thing, just playing a lot of string bends on it for 30 minutes. Yeah, I watched that video with Chip. Chip's brilliant. The dude in that video, he set up my Wolfgang once, and it was one of the best setups I've ever had on a guitar ever. It was incredible. So he was the, one of Ed's main dudes at EVH, and he's a really, really terrific tech. He's the guy in the video. I don't understand the whole stringing, twisting the ball end thing, and then sticking it through and tuning it up and holding the ball. I watched the video and I tried to do it. And I was like, I don't get it. But I have one of those guitars here, one of the 78, with the bridge, and I got everything else kind of in the video besides that twisting the ball end thing. I didn't understand. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, how can you hold the string? Eventually the tension gets so strong when you're tuning it up, it hurts, and then you lose the string. You let it go. So I didn't get it, but I did everything else, and I tried it, and you know what? It works. It friggin' works. It's like you can dive bomb with the bar and it comes back perfectly in tune, and it's like amazing. But as soon as you bend, the G or the B goes flat, like really bad. And then you got to dive bomb again, and then it's right back in tune, perfectly in tune. So it totally works. But oh my God, is it ever too difficult to do, like as a technique? So it gave me even more reverence and understanding of like how good Ed was. And also I was like, oh, he's totally developed a style around this. When you try it, like every time you bend a string, then you got to dive bomb the bar to be in tune. And it's like, oh, okay, well, you'll play a certain lick and then do something else and then and it was like, oh, it's the way I see it's how he had to do it in order to stay in tune, and it was kind of cool sounding too at the same time. I mean, at the time, nobody'd ever heard anybody play a whammy bar like that. It was so aggressive. Now it's like a little dive bomb. It's like a little, you know what I mean? But it was really cool, the way that he was doing it. Well, as soon as the Floyd Rose came out, I mean, he obviously abandoned 3 years later or whatever, because he really wasn't doing a ton of that stuff in 1975 or 6. It was like, you listen to the old Van Halen recordings of, the bootlegs of them playing the clubs and stuff like that and parties and stuff. And there's very little bar, and there's a lot of the Ibanez on there, the Destroyer and stuff. And just, he was playing, you see pictures of him with his old Flying V before it got stolen, and playing other guitars, and then, that one Strat that he had with the white pickguard and the slanted pickup in it. It's kind of a Sunburst Strat. And then I think he had maybe it was black or something. I don't know. But, and then the Frankie shows up in, 1977 or whatever, summer of 77. It was like, that was a new thing, but he was figuring it out, like how to use, like over a couple of years, that the bar came into play and the tapping came into play right around 1977, all of a sudden. 76, 75, 74, it was mostly just traditional riffing, killer. Like he was so amazing in the kind of just playing traditional guitars and everything, just with, that his ballistic chops and everything else. So anyways, he figured it out how to make the bar work or whatever. And then he did that for like 3 years, right? 78, 79 into 80. But by 80, he already had the Floyd. So it was only a couple years when you think about it, that he was really the first record, the second record, where he was using the bar and didn't have a Floyd and had to figure out how to make it work, And then after that, it was always Floyd Rose after that. So it's interesting, but, and we all still talk about it and stuff. And then there's the sort of the discussion of the, the tone, and, that was the one always to me, but the white and black guitar, well, did it sound better with the Floyd Rose or with the original bridge? Was it better? Like, was it beefier maybe with the original bridge? Who knows, when I had to learn a whole bunch of Van Halen songs to play live, I realized that there's no way I would want to deal with that extra layer of complexity the, dealing with a Floyd and dealing with an original Fender style tremolo and dealing with the out of tune and that anxiety while you're trying to remember all the licks and everything. Screw it. Just give me the Floyd, and it's the only way to go. Like, because it's just too much to worry about. And yeah. So yeah. Those Thorn Sur guitars look great. Look forward to the Floyd version. Yeah, I mean, I love it. And actually, that's a nice segue into what I just, I mean, I love the traditional bridge and like this guitar is terrific. And for, like I say, like playing in Fight for Fighting, if I'm playing in, in pop or in singer-songwriter stuff, and I'm not doing a ton, if it's just light vibrato and stuff, I'm totally cool with a bridge like this. It works great. But a little more rock stuff, now we're into, the Wilkinson bridge, which has worked out terrific as well. It's a great kind of middle ground between this and a Floyd. And then the Floyd, which is like, I always love Floyd. So Sir talks about this too. He's like, I love the Floyd. I've never had a problem with it. It's great. Like, and I'm sort of feel the same way. It's like, it's great. It's clunky. It's big. It's a whole thing, but it's great. It works good too. And I grew up with them a lot. I mean, by 84, I was playing those things like so long ago. My Kramer was the first guitar. I got a Pacer, blue Sunburst Pacer with one humbucker that had the Floyd on it. My first Floyd guitar. And that thing, I wish I still had that guitar. It was cool. It was so cool. I wish I never got rid of it, but awesome guitar. And with the Floyd. And then I had a Hamer after that had a Floyd on a Chaparral. And I was off and running. I mean, a Charvel after that, and my Jackson, of course, it's hanging on the wall back there, has the original Floyd on it. And I got that guitar in 86 or 87. So, they're great. Just works. So, Troll says this guitar would look great with a gold Floyd. It probably would, actually. Gold. It probably would. I'm not a gold guy, really. So, I would just do chrome probably. But that would be cool for sure. Sir parted ways with Wilkinson. No, actually, not at all. We're still using the Wilkinson bridge, and you'll still find it on my guitar as well as a bunch of their builds. It's just I don't want to speak out of turn, but it's supply with certain other bridges that they've had issues with, I think. So they wanted a steady supply, and then it also was kind of the opportunity for John to design something, like I say, because it's a similar bridge to others, but he's got a very specific thing about the drilling of the block and the way the strings break out of it and stuff for tuning. So there's a couple unique things about the Sir bridge that he was able to incorporate. John is one of the things he's best at in life is fixing problems with existing designs. And so some things are great and really close, but it's always like, oh, if this was just different and this was different, they'd really have something. And he's really, really amazing about that, which is why, things like this neck heel with a little bit of carve here and little things like he's, the way that there's no string trees on Sir guitars for a reason, because it's the exact way that the strings break out of the nut and go to the locking tuners, which are also Sir locking tuners, right? So little things like that help keep guitars functioning just flawlessly, he's really great at. So that's the thing with the bridge. Like, this arm is incredible. Like, there's no slop in it. It's so nice the way that, and it looks a lot like other arms. I don't know what's different, but it works better to me. And then the tuning stability for a vintage style bridge like this, and just the tone, whatever's going on with it, is super resonant. And so, it was a good opportunity, I think, for, it's been, just still supply chain stuff and stuff like that coming out of pandemic times and stuff like that. Getting, steady supplies of things like bridges and things, can be tough, And if you got a bunch of guitars to make, you can't have something like, oh, well, we're not going to be able to get bridges for a month and a half or two. Oh, it's like now that you're adding like 2 months or 3 months to, the shipping time of a guitar that would have been ready now or today or whatever. So, can't have that kind of stuff. And they run into these problems when you rely on other, manufacturers of things. So that's all I'll say. So, have you ever tried the guitar nut buster, floating locking nut? No, never heard of it. Is it anything like that string butler thing or something different? I see, sorry, I don't know anything about that. I see a super chat there. It's about to disappear. I'm going to grab it in just a second here. Thoughts on George L's? Didn't Ed use them at one point? He might have. I always liked the sound of them, but I always had problems with them, the ends getting dodgy. You know, the non-solder. I'm a believer in soldered cables. Like everything else seems to be dodgy, you know, to me. So but the tone of George L's was great, and if you just use them in the studio or whatever, probably cool. Any plans to visit UK for tour or workshops? Tour for sure. I'll be there. You know, I would assume January again, January, February with Classic Rock Show. Whether or not I'll do any clinics or workshops, I'm not sure, but I am getting fired up to develop another clinic concept, and I wanted to talk to you guys about that actually and see what you think. I want to do a clinic, I think, about tone and about how tone inspires guitar parts. And my thought is that I would make maybe 8 different guitar sounds or something like that that are really different and unique. You know, when I think of some of the great tones of, like, you know, octave divided, fuzzed out stuff, or, you know, super wide, super stereo, you know, 80s style compressed stuff, or, you know, the ultimate lead tone with great, you know, soaring, whatever, you know, delay, and, you know, the whole 9 yards, and super singing, and just all these different types of guitar tones that you could do. And what if I just developed a clinic around those, and just, you know, maybe start the clinic off by playing a piece or something that's developed with 8 different sounds that are radically different, where it just segues from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And then we look at them all and break it down and hopefully give you some ideas, because it, you know, I get inspired by guitar tones, you know, and the way that they inspire different parts. And some people are simple, you know, they like simple stuff. They like you know, one guitar tone, or like just a guitar into amp, and that's terrific. I love that, but I also I totally get that, but I love the idea of radical guitar. I mean, even somebody like Jack White, that's very has been traditionally, at least, you know, maybe not as of late, but traditionally super primitive almost, you know, had different tones, you know, that he would do, you know, by using certain effects every now and then, and he's got great effects, you know, with his signature stuff that he does, you know, the bumblebee or bee, whatever it's called, fuzz, or, you know, that are just radical sounding, you know. So, you know, even he, who, like, sort of in It Might Get Loud, was like, technology is the enemy of creativity. He has effects that are sort of technology based and stuff. I don't even know if he would say that same phrase again now, you know, all these years after It Might Get Loud. He might be a little bit more like, well, yeah, and then I started experimenting with different guitars and effects and things a little bit, you know. So anyways, that's my idea for a clinic, and then kind of breaking down the sounds and how you know, they can inspire a different kind of part or different kind of playing, and hopefully spark some creativity and stuff. And I thought of maybe that's a basis to, you know, record some new music, like with some really amazing guitar sounds, and, you know, maybe the 7 or 8 tones / parts in a little piece of music thing inspires some full songs that then I end up developing. Does that sound like a good idea? I have to be a little more proactive, I feel like, with developing this stuff, and get a little, you know, I played a lot of live gigs, and, you know, did Classic Rock Show tour and stuff like that, and a lot of things. And you've only got so much energy and time in your day. And it's like, I have to, I think, direct and focus my energy a little more. And that was my idea. It's like, well, I'm good at sounds and I'm good at whatever, so maybe I should focus my energy on developing a clinic like that, and people might find it interesting. So what do you think? Good idea? Bad idea? Let me grab that super chat. This is going to mean me going by a whole bunch of your comments and questions here, but there it is. I'll grab that. You're the best, says Mike. Thanks, man. I have a Survey active load and want to reamp through my cabs. What power amp would I recommend? There's something new that's coming relatively soon that's going to be awesome, I think. I haven't personally tried it yet, but I think it's going to be great. I'm currently using Seymour Duncan's, the power stations. They're okay. They're just, you know, straight up Class D, little simple EQ on them. Pretty good product, I think. I use them. You know, that's what I'm taking out now. 2 power stations, but they're heavy. It's it's a substantial amount of weight. It's not heavy compared to a traditional power amp, but it is adding some weight to my rig. And I'm looking forward to having something a little bit lighter, a little more streamlined, not 2 power amps. I know they make a stereo version of it, and I wish I had that. I don't. I've got 2 of the 180s or whatever they're called with the, you know, the chrome looking power amps. That I just bring 2 of them on at once. So anyway, there's something coming that if you could wait, I don't know when it's going to be out exactly. I would hope it would be within, like, maybe by NAMM. I don't know if you can wait that long. So use something until then. You know, I think ISP has one that's nice and light and small. The Duncan's good. Maybe pick up a Duncan, you know, and then when this new thing comes out, go with that, you know. I mean, I know Mike Landau's using the Duncan with the Sur reactive load for load box, I think. So, you know, to do a reamp slave kind of setup. So yeah, check that out. And just, you know, I would say hold off on spending a bunch of money or anything on a you know, more expensive power amp or something if what you're using it for is going to be reamp with the you know, or you get a power station. It's a great product too, you know, the Freya. I use it all the time around here. It's awesome. It's all in one, you know. So all right. What else we got here? Let's see. Possibly a dumb question. I've been eyeing your new signature guitar and wondering how well it will do some 80s rock. Well, I'm an 80s kid, 80s rock kid, so I think it's great. I mean, you know, the current HSS version is, you know, I mean, either that or the double humbucker version, but the HSS probably, you know, it's a straight up super strat with all the problems fixed, I think. So great for that kind of stuff, you know. Yep. Yeah. Hamer Californian. I remember those. Classic rock. Granddad says Hamer Californian with a Floyd. I remember, yeah, they had 27 frets with the slanted fingerboard at the end and the single coil slanted. Yeah, kind of fun. If you could build a super group with any musicians alive or dead, who would you choose on guitar, drums, and vocals? Wow. Chris Cornell on vocals. You know, obviously, because he was my favorite singer ever to play with. Drums, maybe my buddy Matt Logg. He's so amazing at rock drumming. He's, you know, AC/DC's drummer now. I'm gonna go see him play next week. I'm headed to London to see Matt play at Wembley. I'm so stoked. But bass guitar. My buddy Jurgen is so amazing at rock. That sounds like it'd be a fun band. Me and Chris and Jurgen and Matt Logg on drums. That'd be a really fun band. So, not really guys you've heard of, but Jurgen was the bass player in Government Mule forever. He's just an amazing bass player. Killer rock player. I actually did gigs with Jurgen and Chris and Blair Sent on drums, who's awesome too. He's great. We did a couple of the like private things, and Chris loved Jurgen. And Jurgen was great playing with Chris, so it was awesome. If you're building an Ampless secondary rig for practice and writing outside your studio, do you have a preferred amp sim? Well, I love the Quad Cortex, but then as I was mentioning, I'm also making the pedal board right now that I put the Mini Tonex on, just because it's tiny and I can put it in a loop on this little loop switcher from Musicom, and that turns that board into a direct board if I need it to be. So the UA as well. I mean, I love that Lion pedal. It's killer. Love the Ruby for an AC30 style pedal. I recommended the Ruby to somebody a while ago, the guitar player that plays with Train, and he was like, what can I get for just a small, we're going Ampless, you know, like a lot of people. And I play an AC30 usually. And so do I need, and I was like, well, Quad Cortex is amazing. I love it. It does everything. But he's like, I've already got all my pedals. Like, I love my pedals. I just really need an AC30 sound. And I'm like, probably the Ruby from UA would make you happy, I think, because I tried it. I loved it. And he tried it. He's like, this thing's amazing. This is all I needed. So it just depends what you need, you know? There's so many options, you know. Quad Cortex is a one-stop shop that I love for you know, amp sim in a pedal that I can put my own amps in. And then it's got all the effects too. It's awesome. So that's what I'm using for that. You know, with Five for Fighting, I actually use that for your exact setup. But on this other board I have, it's going to have Tone X, just so I have some of that capability in little Tone X Mini. Yeah. Okay. Similar to the 510 deep drill blocks, but with steel blocks. That's JMax. I don't know what the block is on the Sur, actually. I don't know. I just know that it's got John's specification as far as exactly how he liked the block drilled, and with the, you know, tuning stability in mind. Yeah, but I don't know the specifics. Don't know if it's steel or what it is. Actually, I have no idea. Steven says, I have always lived Floyd's, or loved maybe, but lived and loved. Living the Floyd Rose life. Even through the grunge era, I could just never completely give them up. Me either. I think I've always kind of had a guitar with a Floyd on it, you know? Even in the grunge era, I had a Strat with a Floyd. It was it was nice. It was a Japanese-made 2-color sunburst, so it kind of looked like a 57 thing, but hot rod with like a humbucker in the bridge and a Floyd. And it had a maple neck. I remember really liking the neck, kind of wide and flat. It was just a great super Strat. And it was, it was a made in Japan Fender thing. And I played that with my cover band a lot during the whole grunge era. You know, I would gig out a lot and stuff. And that was a really good guitar. I don't remember what happened to that friggin' guitar. It was like, I've got so much gear that I was like, where did that thing go? What did I do with it? I don't remember. You know, I got rid of, like, at one point, my memory is so weird when I think about, I came all the way to LA with some Mesa Boogie 212s, a rack, a 295 tube power amp, a studio preamp. I don't remember what I did with any of that stuff. Like, I don't remember selling it. And it's so weird because there was a whole decision made, like, I'm going to get rid of this whole guitar rig and get something else. Because I ended up with a 5150. You know, the first block logo 5150 was really early one that still, as soon as it came out, I got that amp because it still had Phillips tubes in it. They were still shipping them with American tubes in the beginning, I remember. So that was a long time ago. And that I started using, you know, and got a PV cabinet. It wasn't the 5150. It was like one with Sheffields in it or some different speakers or something. And I used that for the early 90s. And I had that Strat, I remember then. Don't remember what happened with the 5150 either. When the hell did I get rid of that? Don't remember. Oh, I've blocked a lot out. Have you ever played the Ibanez bridge with the ball bearings instead of the friction fulcrum? Which bridge was that? Was that the Roadstar bridge or the one that was on those guitars? Ball bearings. I don't think so. Did it work good? I don't know. I don't think I have. I got a couple super chats I got to grab there. I'm not going to forget, and I'll do it. Would you ever do a PT SIG with a classic body? You know, we've talked about that, and I think that at least for now, maybe not. Maybe like a one-off, like I've got my red one that's lacquer finish that was a really cool guitar with the bird's eye neck on it and all that. Maybe something like that, like a run of like a limited run or something. But I like the idea of when you see my signature guitar, you know it's my signature guitar. Like, I think when you see this one, even though it's slightly different, you know it's my model because it was the first one with rings on a standard body. I sort of, you know, I really fought hard for the rings and insisted because I knew more than anything, it was a look. It wasn't about tone or anything. It was about, it's going to establish that this guitar is a different model and that it's mine, and you'll know it's mine. Because how do you make a Strat style guitar look like, and it, you know, well, if it says Sur on it and it's got rings, it's mine, you know, and that I wanted to form that reference in people's mind, you know, where they would just know right away. So the standard body shape is a part of that. I think this particular body shape. And if I deviate from that, maybe then I'm getting away from, you know, so even on the HSS, I made sure to use the ring, you know, for the humbucker, because it definitely sort of, and the unique pick guard, but it kind of, it brands it a little bit. So if it gets, there's other guys in the Sir roster that have multiple different body shapes. I mean, Mateus has a T and an S. Ian Thornley has the Jazzmaster style as well as the classic S's style body, different body shapes and stuff. It's different ways to go about it. I think for me, I prefer sticking with the one, something where there's continuity through the, for whatever we come up with, I think. And then it's, when you think of Steve Vai, right? The gem, it's all the gem. Even the Evo looks like a gem. It's a different guitar. I don't know how different it is actually, but and he was very successful with those guitars. When I think of Eddie Van Halen, his guitar, ever since the Ernie Ball came out, always had that similar body shape and look and aesthetic to it and stuff. And I think that was a good idea. I guess then they went back and did the stripe stuff and everything, but he can do that. That definitely had no confusing whose guitar that is, or what it's based off of. So anyway, do the clinic at Sweetwater, my clinic idea. Yeah. So there's some interesting ideas. Could be a chronology, start with classic 50 tones through to modern day. That's an interesting idea. I don't know if I want to necessarily do tones based on classic tones. It might just be more like sounds that I come up with that I'm like super digging. That maybe they won't have anything to do with, like I say, what if I did some sort of octave divider with, super wide stereo, and it was a clean thing with a ton of compression and also a layer of fuzz, or I don't know what, it's just something that was inspiring and unique. Almost less about like a history of guitar tone maybe, and a little bit more about how I got inspired to make some new music, and here's the songs that came out of, I developed this sound, and here's the part I came up with that I feel like is complementary, complementary tone, complementary part. And maybe that gives other people ideas on how to do the same thing. Because most of what people seem to know me for is the creative stuff, like writing the little songs that are in the videos and stuff, and coming up with that's the thing I enjoy the most, is the creativity and just kind of branching off and being like a kid with finger paints and enjoying myself, So I guess the clinic is sort of furthering on that, how I do that. I did a sort of a, my last clinic, for anybody that saw it, was developed around me showing how I do sort of my studio process and layering parts and how I build a song in the studio. And so I did that. Now, what if I do it a slightly different idea, like some really radical guitar tones, and then the anatomy of those sounds, less about the recording process and all that stuff, a little bit more about, here's just the inspiration for the part, the sound, and here's the elements of the sound and everything that's going on within it. And here's the part that feels appropriate to play with this sound, So just throwing it in the coffee funding, says Arthur. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that. And thanks for the super chat. You guys are too kind. Keeping the coffee flowing around here. We got 330 or so people online. That's fantastic, even though YouTube screwed up my time in the app somehow. How did that happen? That's never happened in 5 years of doing this, or however long it's been. Over 5 years, right? Has it really been that long? Yeah, I've never set a time and then seen the time screwed up in the app, which is what happened today. It's at 9:45 p.m. or something instead of when it was supposed to be. And somebody confirmed that 4 hours ago it was the right time, and so it was some sort of computer glitch or something. Anyway, that's boring. I'd like to see how to set the IRs on my PT15. Yeah, what do you mean, how to change them? It's really easy. You just plug in, literally, like if you plug a flash drive into your computer, like a little, or not it could be a flash drive, or it could be a little memory card, like a camera style memory card. If you got a memory card slot on your computer, you'll plug it in. It'll show up like a hard drive on your desktop, right? You open that up, and then you'll see a little file hierarchy in there. Well, that's what happens with the PT15. It's almost like flash memory. You plug it in via USB to your computer. It's going to pop up on the desktop. You just open it up, and you open the folders, and you'll literally see the 4 banks of IRs, and in each one is an IR file. You can literally take those out, drop them on your desktop, pull them out, and then load other ones in there and plop them in. And then when you reboot the amp, it'll pop up, and whatever IRs you loaded in will be in there. It's so simple. It's really easy. I'm sure there's something in the manual or on the Sir site on how to do that, but it literally is like dragging and dropping files. Very, very, very simple. You can contact Sir customer service as well. Just send an email to cs@sir.com and they will walk you through it. They'll probably send you a little PDF or something like that on exactly how to do it. Christopher, thanks for the super chat there. What do you think of Warm Audio and their clones of discontinued pedals? Rip-offs are fair game. Well, if they're discontinued, especially, it's like they're not really hurting anyone, you know. There's a healthy market for this kind of thing. You see the kind of, you know, certain companies, Joyo and other, you know, make clones of things, or certainly Behringer, you know. What do you think of the new Behringer Neve looking stuff? You know, some companies make their money this way, you know. I don't know. I mean, I think if it's like a I feel like there should be an amount of time in between when something comes out and then when it's knocked off, you know, that would be acceptable. Maybe it's 10 years. I don't know. Give people an amount of time to just kind of be, you know, there's no hard and fast rule, obviously. And you're not doing anything illegal unless it's patented, like Randall Smith would do, you know. Legendary for patenting things, and then nobody could go and copy them, you know, the simulclass or right, etc. But anyways, yeah. So will Sir market more left-handed models for Sweetwater? You can custom order almost anything in a left-handed model. You know, whether or not they stock it is up to them ordering, I guess, but you can certainly custom order. So just know that anything you want, I mean, you can go and you can get an amazing guitar, and it might be worth it if you're lefty to just custom spec something, and it's going to be a bit of a wait, but you know, you can get mine in lefty. Just have to order it. Yeah. Okay. Graham Bonnet. Graham Bonnet's awesome. Jeremy Colson, he's a great drummer for sure. Talking about the Dream Band thing. Are you still planning on a review of the new Generation 3 Boss Katana amp? If they ever wanted me to do it, I'd do it. I haven't heard from them about that, but I'd be happy to. 334 people online. Great to have you all here. Welcome. Steve Harris on bass. Steve's an amazing bass player. Philip, I did a Philip from Steve's band as well. He's fantastic, great guy. I did a if you want to see a fun sort of supergroup thing, I did 3 Rush songs with Philip and with Mike Portnoy on drums of Dream Theater fame, of course, and Winery Dogs, and myself on guitar, and an entire steel drum ensemble playing YYZ, Spirit of Radio, and Tom Sawyer. I believe it was Tom Sawyer. Is that the third song we did? I can't remember now. I think it was. But 3 Rush tunes. Those videos are on YouTube if you want to see them. Some of you probably had no idea, but it was 4 or 5 years ago we did that. And it was really fun. And I tried to do my best Alex Lifeson. I especially proud of YYZ. I think it turned out great. So check that out. But with Philip and Mike Portnoy, that's some supergroup stuff. I will say I was happy to be in the room. It was a pleasure to play with those gentlemen. Geezer Butler on bass. Geezer's amazing, of course. What's my favorite EVH guitar? Music Man PV or EVH? Oh man, that's hard. You know, the Music Man is where it all started, and it's really brilliant. I would say probably the neck on the latest EVH sort of version is the easiest to play. They went back to, you know, remember when he was in a small fret phase for a long time. The Music Man has small frets. Maybe the PVs all did, and the earliest editions of the EVH Wolfgang had very tiny frets. I'm a bigger fret guy, so recently I played a Wolfgang. It was when I was doing the video for the delay, the ST 3000 EVH delay that I got to be part of, or when I was just working on that whole project with them. Matt Bruck lent me his Wolfgang, which is he's got a Wolfgang that's painted like the shark. So it's got the red and silver stripes on it and stuff. It's so cool. and it's a great guitar. And he lent me that for a little while. And it's a later sort of gen Wolfgang with the ebony board. So it's got ebony board, and it looks like the shark. It's really cool. And I think he painted it himself or had it. I don't know who did it, but anyway, it's really neat. And that's sort of his personal Wolfgang. And that guitar really was a burner, like just wide, flat neck, and a different neck than the one I have here. Now, I love the one I have here that I've had forever. It's an amber top, one of the original ones. But I would say the most playable and sort of up my alley, just feel-wise, one would be Matt's that I've played. It was a really, really cool guitar. So out of the, if you're just saying what's my favorite Wolfgang style, now I have the Music Man here, and it's absolutely beautiful, that guitar. It's a super cool guitar, and it's a little, it's just different. It's got a small neck with smaller frets, and it's a 12-inch radius board. So kind of the original was modeled off the Kramer neck, and it's a really cool guitar. It just feels a little more vintage, I would say, than it's a little less shredder and a little more like a traditional feeling guitar, actually, even though it came out in 92 or whenever, 91. Kind of fun. Yeah. What's my opinion of fractal gear? Fractal is like they are absolutely a pioneer of modeling, I would say. They weren't the first, but they really went for it, right? And they've got a lot of that market share, and they really were sort of forward thinking, and they really went like, we're going to go all, like, you got to admire their dedication to going, we're going to make a digital amp that is, we're going to go deeper than any digital amp. We're going to make the ability to change literally like component values within the amplifier, like in the kind of the digital world. And we're going to make an amazing editor, and that you can get super deep to every little aspect, and the effects are going to be great. And we're just going to make it on a very, very high end pro. This isn't going to be a consumer grade. This is going to be professional. Right. And they went really far with it, and were very successful, so I think that it's it's like an ecosystem, the fractal. It's like if you play fractal, you're playing fractal. Those people that get into it, they're like kind of lifers. When you see like Dweezil or getting super deep into it, or Steve Vai, even, it's been the only effect unit that he uses in his rig for 15 years. I mean, as far as like a time-based effects, he uses it in the effects loop. He still uses tube amps. He uses, a Synergy. For a long time, it was the Legacy and everything, and now it's the Synergy preamp module. It's very similar to the Legacy, and two power amps, but it's Axe effects for his effects, right? And that's it. And that's a testament, I think, to how good the effects are. The effects are excellent in it. It's a complex device, and I feel like it works for a certain kind of person. If you want to, my experience with it was this, because I used to use it for all my effects and stuff too, post effects. When I would get in and I would tweak a sound on an Axe effects and really spend time on it, like, I'm going to make the perfect, I'll give you an example, like the rotary sound for Black Hole Sun, right? When for a while, I was using a simple pedal board at the beginning. Then I switched midway in the Chris Cornell days to a rack with all my effects racked and stuff. Went wet, dry, wet. And I went like, I'm going to make the most badass sound for this song that I can possibly make. And so I wanted, the rotary to just be amazing sounding, and with the right reverb and the right echo and everything. And I get into it, and I would tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak. Now, with a lot of effects units, what I find is you get further and further away from the thing. Maybe you reach it and then you get away from it, and then you start getting bored, or you start like losing perspective. With the Axe effects, I had this interesting, my process was I would tweak and tweak and tweak, and now I'm spending an hour on something, or an hour and a half on a sound, but it would get better and better and better. That's what I found with it. It was like the deeper I got, the more cool it got, actually. So it was paying dividends. It wasn't like I was going down a rabbit hole that got me nowhere. So deep, a tweaker's device for sure. Maybe too complicated for a lot of people, but they really do it great. What they do great. And you got to hand it to them. And there's a reason that you see them in a million rigs, and you know, that you see people move to them, and that's all they use for, you know, going on, you know, because they've been around for whatever now, 10 plus years. So it's like more like 15 years probably, right? And you see people that have used them for almost all that time, and they got into it, and that's just that's how they do their rigs now, you know. Guys I know at Max Bernstein on the Taylor Swift tour, they don't have amps, you know, because it's like Taylor Swift, a great big stage, and everybody's moving around, and it's like, it's not an amp gig really. Axe effects, you know. I think Def Leppard's using Axe effects. Ton, you know, there's so many examples. Pop tours, rock tours. Offspring's using Axe effects. Now they use them into power amps and cabinets, but they use them as preamps, and that's where the amp tones are coming from. So, I've got one set. I keep looking over here because I've got one sitting right here. There's an Axe Effects 3 in my rig. So there you go. That's what I say about them. Are you using the Tone X Dumble Sim? I haven't tried it. No. I imagine once I get this new board up and running, I'll because I can put up to 20 in the little Tone X mini pedal. So I'll select some. Maybe I'll make some more of my own to put in it. You know, some PT100 ones and stuff, and do some more captures and things like that. But also try some other ones and stuff, and I'll fill it up with maybe 15 amp sounds and 5 drives or something like that I can select and use. Yeah. Oh yeah. Paulie's Guitar says, "Gutted, I missed your Malvern show in the UK a few months back. Hopefully you're back next year." Oh man, I love Malvern. What a nice town to always visit, and I always have fun there. It's real pretty, cute little English town. You know, really cool. I'll be sad to visit there again without my friend Angus and his cider shop. So maybe if you're familiar with Malvern, Paulie, you knew of it was called Malvern Cellars, and there's a nice old guy in his 70s named Angus that ran that place, and he had the best, you know, craft batch kind of cider, and what were the other ones? The other similar to cider, I can't remember what they're called. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And he also had really unique gins, you know, small batch kind of stuff. And he was such a neat guy. I'd go in there and he would, Perry's, ciders and Perry's is the other beverage he would sell there. You know, just a really cool guy that in his retirement, he had a passion for this stuff, and he would, had this terrific shop in Malvern. So, and he was closing the last time I was there. The shop was closed, and I went next door, and they said, "Oh yeah, he's decided to kind of close up shop and sell off, you know, the rest of he's retiring." But I sent a message through the little, you know, I think it's a gift store or something next door, and I said, "Can you please tell him that I said hi and that I was visiting and stopped by," and because he's just a really neat guy. Anyways, that's my memory of Malvern. So I'll have to find other things to do that rather than cider shop when I'm there. Oh, right. Is that a JTM studio in the background there, usable at real home volume without a load box? Doesn't it have an attenuator on the back? I can't remember. It's been a minute since I plugged it in. Actually, it just looks so nice back there, though, doesn't it? You know, a 20-watt 45 is not really a super loud affair. Let me double check. I'll get off my ass here and take a look. Let's see. Just gonna put my guitar down. Crowded studio here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to it past the destroyer. Anything else? Let's take a look at the back. I just can't remember. 1 second. That's the effects loop switch. No, they didn't put a. I for some reason I was mixing up the JTM with my little JTM 1, which does have a little built-in attenuator on it. It's got a little load resistor built in it, and you can actually like dial back the level to bedroom volume. But you could get something simple for it, you know, like a simple little attenuator or something. Maybe the little Baby Tone King or something. the Mini Iron Man to dial it back. But if you just play clean, you can set up clean, use pedals with it, and play it quiet, you know. Whatever happened to your Sunburst, sir, that you put the non-fine tuner Floyd on? That guitar is in pieces right now. I need to put it back together, actually. I stole the tuners off it for something else. It kind of became my Eddie Van Halen, like, Hackett guitar. And unfortunately, something happened with that guitar that I wasn't happy with, which is that I had them put the non-fine tuner Floyd on it and they back routed it. And that wasn't what I had in mind. I generally sort of dislike back routes. So when we did this guitar, I was this is of course the new Floydy version with the sexy finish and the sexy detuner cutout on it. This has a back route, but it's minimal. I just don't like all that wood missing. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. So this has a very it's the reason they did it. I understand why. It's the geometry of where the neck sits and everything. And in order to get the bridge to sit low enough in the guitar, they kind of have to back route it, or you have to start lifting the neck, and it changes things. So when they put the Floyd on the guitar, they did their standard route, and it's a classic body on that guitar, and they did the route, but it's quite deep. And I just was like, oh, I just wanted the bridge flush against the body. And so it was something I didn't specify, but I understand why they did that. They did it. I would have had to literally shim the neck otherwise and stuff. So, and that always just kind of bummed me out a little bit. So anyway, look at that finish. Oh, goddamn. So nice. Well, fun guitar. Woo. Good times. Good times. Good times. It's so sparkly. Anyway, so I don't know what to do about that. I might ask them to make another body or something for it. Or maybe they've just got one, like a second lying around or something, and I can try and make it work again, because that always bummed me out. And that guitar always, it's got a bizarre finish on it too. It was finished by it's a lacquer, and it's really thick for whatever reason. So there's a few things about that body on that particular guitar. Great neck on that guitar and everything. I'd like to get it back up and running. So maybe I should look into some of this. That guitar, I should get working again. It's got a terrific neck. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the neck. There's nothing wrong with all the electronics in that guitar and stuff. I should just get a body and get it all up back and working. Any plans for a PT50? Yes, we are working on it. It's coming along, and it's going to be really cool. But it's not coming next month or anything like that. But we're trying. We're trying to as fast as possible, so hopefully soon. Hopefully soon, man. But you're going to be neat amp for sure. Some cool stuff. Man, I'm taking a long time. Great questions here. I'm spending a lot of time just on one little segment of the chat here, though. So if you couldn't be with Sir anymore, who would you go to with signature gear? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know. I'm dialed in with Sir so close, and they've been such a great partner that I don't even think about it really, because I love them. We're like family, It's a dream come true, really, when you work with a company that you don't feel like, like I don't want to do anything else, really. So, if it was a different world and I wasn't with them, I mean, Friedman is 100% one of my best friends. So, I would probably be talking with him about amps and stuff. We hang and talk. Just like John's one of my best friends, and Dave's one of my best friends, and they're friends and stuff. And they all talk, but there's no weirdness there or anything like that either. I mean, Dave helps me out with amps all the time and stuff. It's just most of these relationships with people are it's not like you approach them with some form letter and then like, oh, let's have a meeting and talk about an idea for. It's like these relationships are all relationships that I've had for years naturally. I mean, I bought before I was ever working with Sir. I had a Marsha, which was I had the second Marsha ever made, which became the BE. Dave had one, and then he made me one, and it was Marsha number 2 and said Marsha on the front. It was basically a BE, the first version of that amplifier. Looked like a Plexi 4-hole, but it had a master and a whatever, and it was a single. I wish I still had that amp. I mean, I don't know where it went. It was the beginning of Friedman, really, you know. So I was into his amps, you know, going way, way back like that. I never should have sold that amp. It was, you know, so there you go, you know. So we have so that would make sense, I guess, you know. But anyways, been very very happy with my Sur amps and relationship. I mean, the PT 100, as for as much stuff as you see me use in the studio, different things and stuff, amps live, I haven't used anything other than Sur for since 2008 or 9. I haven't played. I mean, I had a Friedman on stage on one tour as my return for my stereo rig. I had a PT 100 and a Friedman BE 100 on stage at the same time for the other half of stereo, right? Other than that, it's been Sur amps and mostly the PT 100. You know, I've used PT 15 on a couple tours. You know, use the SL68, use the Ombre. But Ombre? The Bella, excuse me. Never used the Ombre on tour, but I used the Bella. And it's been all Sur. So I'm so far behind in the chat, aren't I? And I got super chats to get to. Sorry, I got to move down. Have you ever debated switching to the Peterson Strobostomp? I used it for a while, didn't like it. It's okay, but it's the way that it strobes and does things. For me, when I'm on stage and I'm trying to tune, I don't see so good either as the other thing. So for me, like the visual aspect of the tuner is really important. When I tune with anything other than a poly tune, I'm like, it's too herky jerky and it doesn't seem like it's sure. Oh, is it sharp? Is it a poly tune's just like, here's the note. Now it's here. Now it's here. And you tune and it's just, you know what I'm talking about? It's just, and I don't even know if it's the most accurate tuner, but what I do know is on stage when I'm tuning fast, I've grown to rely on it and the way that I use it, the way I trust it. And when I can hear, I think the B string's out of tune, I'll hit it and I go, yep, sure enough, it's this flat. And then I continue on in the song. And it's just become a part of the way I play. So I'm really happy with the polytune. A strobe, it's just visually, it, you know, when it's this thing, it doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. So would you know, is the filtering in the JEL 100 anything close to what you utilize in the PT 100? I don't, but my guess is it's probably not far off. You know, the PT 100 isn't not as stiff filtering as the earlier OD versions. I know that. It's basically kind of some variation of, you know, early 70s Marshall, I think. Yeah. Which I'm sure the JEL is as well, probably pretty similar. Listening to your steel drum ensemble YYZ, and it's great. Thanks. Yeah, it's a funny one that maybe slipped under the radar for some people, but that was a fun project. We cut the you can't really tell by the video, but we actually cut the band trio first, and then they overdubbed the steel drum band in it. So I got to play with Portnoy and Philip the you know, those 3 Rush songs and track it like a band, and then it was interesting to hear, you know, the steel drum thing overlaid was so interesting. It's a really fun experiment actually, and kind of cool session that was so totally unique, you know. And as a Rush fan, really fun. Yeah. I was so stoked yesterday from a fan perspective because I responded to a post that Geddy Lee put up about a P bass that he's had custom painted. It's a vintage P that's got a really great custom paint job on a pretty bird and stuff. That he likes birds in New Zealand, and so it's all combined in this finish on this bass. And I asked on the Instagram post, I said, can you tell us, did you ever play a P on, because he seems to be playing Ps lately. And I know he's got a lot of basses, but like I never was, you know, the P was not something I always, the Rick or the jazz bass was kind of the main basses in Rush. And then of course the Wall and the Steinberger for various tours and things like that. But, and so I said, did you ever play a P on any classic Rush? And he responded to the post and he said, I got my first one 68 and I played it on the first Rush record and tour. And I didn't realize that. So that's so cool. So I was going to go look for some photos of him playing a P. But anyways, I was like, I heard from Geddy. He responded to my post. That's so cool. I'm a big fan. If you guys haven't seen the Rush, it's like Getty and Alex at Massey Hall. Well, Getty's doing his book tour earlier this year, I think. And they sit down and they just rap for like an hour, and it's the greatest thing ever. It's like you're a fly on the wall just with the two of them and the way that they relate and talk about things. It's such great stories and stuff. So it's so fun. If you haven't seen it, even if you're not a Rush fan, just watch it because it's a great watch. So let's hear it for Canada, and let's hear it for the Edmonton Oilers, ladies and gentlemen. So tomorrow's my birthday. What do I get on my birthday? Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Oilers, come on, let's go. So cool. So I know what I'm doing on my birthday tomorrow. I'm watching the game. It's going to be so fun. The other day was friggin' magical. I mean, I've become such a hockey fan this year. I'm just so over the moon about it. It's like, it's really, really, really fun. It's not as much fun when they're losing, but it was still fun. But when they're winning, oh my God, I get it now. I was never a sports fan, but I'm so stoked. And it's just also because I grew up, like, I'm sorry, but Edmonton is the hockey capital of Earth, I think. Like, there's more, you can see it in somebody put up a decibel meter the other day. I think when Hyman got a goal, and they put up the meter and it was like 111 dB in the venue, just it's unlike any place else on Earth. And having grown up there and gone to a lot of games in the 80s when it was the Dynasty and Gretzky and Messier and everything else, there's a spirit there that hockey brought to that town. It was what put the town on the map. Edmonton is like where I grew up, this is Edmonton, Alberta. It was especially in the 80s for sure, known as a very, very cold place, kind of dark a lot of the year. It's working class. It's not as fancy or as, highfalutin as Calgary has come to be. It's still kind of got that thing. And yeah, it's like kind of conservative Canada. I always say it's the Texas of Canada, but it's got its own thing going on, even with that. And I guess when I think of the conservative value, I don't want to get into all that stuff, but when I think of that with Canada, it's like the old school idea of that. Like, people know the value of a dollar. I don't know. There's a lot of respect there for neighbors, and like, it's a little more, that kind of place. Also had an amazing punk rock scene when I was growing up. Like, I seen a few bands like that, but and pretty rich. Like, it's kind of underground, but there's an arts thing there for sure. But hockey was the thing that everybody, as you can see, bonds on in that city, and that there's just an unshakable kind of, I don't know, I call it soul hockey, like soul surfing. It's like before the big money came in, and it was really about a team, and you can see that energy there. It's like magic, man. Right now, it's like what it's supposed to be about. It's like they're like a gang against the, and when everything's firing on all cylinders and stuff, it's so exciting and fun to watch. And it feels just like this, I don't know. They were interviewing one of the players the other night after the game, and he was saying, I can't remember which player it was, but he was saying how special it is to play there. Like, and he's trying to kind of soak it all up, like he's in the venue after the game. And it's just like, it's so special to play hockey here right now. Like, it's like such a, like I don't want to miss this moment kind of thing. So like being present, maybe that's what it is. It's like, we're all so like scattered and ADHD and everything these days and everything else, and everybody's like on their phones and everything. But this is a moment in a thing with actual stuff happening. It's not AI. It's not like, and it's right in front of you, and it's like magic when those guys are on fire, And so it's been so much fun, and just feels, to like be a part of it. I don't know. It's really cool. Really, really digging it. Digging it. Anyways, super chat there from Cavalry Kendrick. Any chance of Sir ever making a signature pedal? Oh, we've talked about it, and we came up with a really cool idea. It kind of got derailed at one point. It's like I would love to, but I'd want it to be special, kind of, and something different. As most of my gear, has like little unique things about it. So I don't just want an overdrive or something. I have thought of it. Kind of a cool idea for a little bit more traditional, simple pedal with them. Maybe we'll explore that at some point. But it just kind of got a little bit derailed, and now it's like on the back burner. And it's like, how many things can you do? They're not. It's not a big company, and the engineering staff for electronics is not big. So it's like we're working on the amp, and then we work on new guitar ideas, and it's like maybe that's enough, to kind of, because we're always working on new stuff, but I have to kind of pick and choose the battles, what to focus on and stuff, because they just don't, they got to make things for other people too, and new ideas they've got, and there's only so much bandwidth. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. Did you ever do a video on the lab amp you have? I haven't. I should do that at some point. The lab amps in the zone would be pretty cool. I'll take whatever Warren DeMartini was using on Detonator. Yeah, I think he used a Soldano a lot on that, but I could be wrong. I'll have to ask him. I thought that he was already in Soldano mode by then. He's always got a great sound. He just had a great ear for, dialing in amps and stuff. So, yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. I want to see that black sparkly guitar in red. Well, you, sir, may get that wish. And it might be a hell of a red. I'm not saying more now. Eric says, quick on theory, when you write your demos, are you thinking about the theory to create cool progressions? Only sometimes. I'm just more hearing in my head, following in my head, or sometimes I'm just moving my hands on the neck and finding like, ooh, there's an interesting place to go after that. But I'm always thinking about something twisted or weird, like where can I take it that'll make sense but isn't expected? It's generally what I like, a little, something that's unique in there. So sometimes it takes a while to find it. Sometimes I bail. Yesterday I came up with a thing for this reverb that I'm going to finish a video for this white whale reverb here in the next couple of days. And I came up with an idea, and then I trashed it because I was like, this is boring. It was okay. It would have been fine, but then I came up with a better one. I thought it was too much similar to... what was funny was the drums that I wrote for it, though, worked perfect. I haven't changed a thing. So it's like I came up with a totally different vibe, but I was like, I think it's about the same tempo as what I already had. And I came in and I turned on the drums and I just played the new part that I was hearing in my head along with it. And it all fit. And I just had to make minor tweaks, I think, to the drums. And then it was like, okay, that's cool, but it's more creative. Do you ever think you'd get Sir to make their version of an Ibanez Destroyer? That would be interesting. I kind of doubt it, but it'd be neat. It's a body shape that people like to stay away from, I think, because Gibson's just kind of litigious. And, it's like, you got to be careful with those body shapes. I think they sort of feel like the juice isn't worth the squeeze when it comes to, getting too close to, because like, why bother? They're doing other things that they, anyway, you know what I mean. They got their schedules full, pages full, whatever. Sometimes I can say what I want to say. Simon, what's up, my friend? You've just bought a pair of Adam studio monitors. Should they be burned in? I don't know if that's a thing. I've never really done anything special. Oh, I like the black cat in your little avatar there. How are you, man? I think you're cool with just kind of using them, listening to music through them and stuff. I don't do that. I will say this. I have been experimenting with some monitors. I'm going to show you what they look like. So my Adams I've used for 15, 16 years. They're terrific. You'll love them. They're great. But I did get these. Ooh, the Barefoots. And I am actually really loving them. They sound great. So then give Barefoot some props. They're their new Footprint 03s. And man, good sounding. Good sounding. Having fun with them. Oh, ready. Yeah, I wouldn't do anything special, Simon, to necessarily to burn them in. I just use them. I didn't notice any. My Adams that I've used for a while here, they're sitting there now, sadly, because I took them down to try the Barefoots. But I just, started using them and did a bunch of work on them, and I don't know if they ever changed sound or not. Any observations about the differences in how the controls feel between SL67 Mark II and the Friedman Plex? Not really. Really similar. a lot of the values are going to be the same. They're both Marshalls, really. So not really, not so much. You'd probably find the same thing if you tried them. You'd be like, similar. Yeah. Let's see. Matt here has an observation about the studio monitors. He's got A5Xs. Believes the T and A series need to be burned in. S series is burned in at the factory. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know. I don't know what burn in even means. I just plug them in and start working. Kind of like Celestians, It's like, well, take them out and put some gigs on them. They'll probably sound better in a couple months. Sound good out of the box and probably will get better. So do you think you'll use the PT50 on a future tour? Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. No, that's my intention, is to, once this thing's done, that's what I end up using for the next 10 years before I retire. Have you had any experience working with MIDI bass programs, trying to dial up my at-home mix with MIDI drums, GGD, my reamp guitars? Any tips, or would you work? Where do you would work? MIDI bass programs. I don't really do that. I play my own bass. Is it like, I mean, MIDI drums, reamped guitars. So like you're using MIDI bass guitar sounds. I would just play bass, honestly. I don't know, because to me, it's like trying to play keyboard bass. If I'm playing that, I'm going for more of a Moog sample kind of thing, like an obviously sort of synth bass thing. I haven't played a lot with MIDI bass programs, no, but I do all my drums. I mean, I know GGD. I do all my drums, in the box. I would say one of the things you got to do is kind of like, at least this for drums, and it probably would apply to MIDI bass too, is dial it in as you would a bass guitar, or a real drum kit. Like, so in other words, you got to get the mix right, and then the way you compress things and maybe EQ it a little bit, maybe add a little bit of room, to kind of glue everything together. Like a MIDI bass, probably, it's probably recorded already through an amp sim, but you might want to add a little like layer of, maybe some overdrive via a plugin. Use something like Sans amp or a rat pedal on another track and copy it over and send through it and blend in a bit of overdrive or something. You might notice it in isolation, and then once it's in the track, you won't hear it as obvious distortion, but things like that can lend themselves to making it sound as a cohesive, a little bit of, harmonic distortion on bass and drums can tend to tie things together and make it sound more like a real, like less demo-y and more like a band playing. So that's some observations there. MIDI bass programs. Yeah, I don't know. If they're already pretty amp sounding, you may or may not want to do that. But if they're not, if they're kind of direct sounding, add a little drive, a little grind, a little compression, tie it all together. Is Andy Timmons using a Shure SL68? Yeah, he is. I believe he is. I'm not sure how he's using it exactly. Like if he's using it with pedals and stuff in front and kind of not driving it too hard. I think maybe that might be how he's using it. But I know he's, been using one as of late, and, been speaking with the Shure folks and stuff, and yeah, which is great. I love Andy. Good people. I just missed a... Is Andy Timmons using it? Okay, there was that one. There was another. Alex Lifeson is an underrated guitar player. That's what I was trying to highlight. I totally agree. I think Alex, I wish he had more, allocates out there. I mean, he's amazing. His sounds and the way he structured his sounds. I hope to get to interview him one day. I hope that happens, because I've got specific questions I really want to ask him about the way that Rush was doing about guitar sounds, particularly around the late 70s, early 80s. He was doing a unique thing where he was using those Marshall Club and Countries, or maybe sometimes High Watts. And I believe he was doing a layered clean and dirty thing where they could then pick in the mix what they wanted to use. But I've never really been able to find an interview or anything where it's super detailed about it. So I really want to ask, but I think what's going on is you can hear it in some of the tracks is this layered, like almost like John Petrucci will layer like a like when he does his clean parts, he plays clean electric and then he also layers an acoustic, which is, it gives it this otherworldly kind of like almost direct kind of clarity to the part, because you've of course got the acoustic with all the extended frequency response and stuff on top, maybe arpeggiating a clean thing, and it really makes the part pop, you know. Alex was kind of doing that with electric guitars with clean and dirty. So you'd have a, you know, dirty stuff going on and then clean stuff going on. They could blend the two together with the effects and everything. And so I just want to talk to him about it, because it's like, what were you doing exactly? And how were the effects routed? And was it mono amps and then the effects were added to console, or like, how was it done, you know, in order to get those tones? I'm talking about moving pictures, permanent waves, signals, Grace Under Pressure era tones. It's so interesting to me. Arthur says, I dig the P-bass tones, but not really into their look. What? They're the coolest. I say it's the Chevy truck of, you know, of basses. It's right down the middle. It just does the job. Bass guitar. I think P-bass. Yeah. Yeah. Dream Art Scientist asking, am I Canadian? I am indeed. I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, home of the Edmonton Oilers. So, good times. Ben Tom's brother, also born same day as me. Also Jeff Beck. June 24th. Gretzky. Love him. He's been great on the commentary throughout the playoffs. Haven't seen him in the last... I've never known what's going on with the commentary. So it's Messier now. He's great too. He's awesome. Legend. But I was really enjoying the commentary with the panel of guys when Gretzky was on with the, I guess that was ESPN. I don't know. I never know what's going on with when they mix it up from game to game to game. Don't know the ins and outs of it. But good to see Gretzky on there. And best of luck to the Oilers. They came all the way back from 3-0, and they have the momentum going into Game 7. I would agree with that. This heart and soul. Yeah. 100%. Another great guitar builder friend of John is Tom Anderson. That's true. They go way back. John has nothing but respect for Anderson, and I think they go way back to the oops, just fixing my mouse here, just screwing up the comment. They go way back to the days of, you know, building. Anderson was at Schecter, I think, and then John used to get parts from Schecter for their early builds for Pensasur, you know, when they were putting guitars together in the early days. So I think that's how they met. Kind of interesting. Wow, I've almost gone. Oh no, okay, so I've gone an hour and 40. So yeah, I'm going another 15, 20. But this is great. We got it's been up to almost 350 people which is really nice. Glad you're all still here. And there's another super chat I got to grab there. Hope I haven't missed any. I don't think I have. Michael Angelo Battio responded to me the other day. That's awesome. I was pretty stoked. Dude, I met that guy once at a rehearsal studio, and he was so nice. He was the nicest guy, you know. It was actually really, really kind. So I've got a good impression of him from meeting him in person. He was really sweet. So yeah. Okay. All right. Happy 29th again. Oh, I appreciate that. Let's see. Have you done a demo in the Gibson custom shop collaboration with Epiphone Karina Flying V? I have not. I will say the Epiphone stuff I've seen as of late seems great. In particular, the Firebirds they came out with recently look so nice. They seem to be doing really good stuff. You know? So, and the price is reasonable, which is nice, because as the, you know, some of the Gibsons, it's like, geez, dude. Like, you know, I went to the Gibson garage in Nashville when I was there recently, and it's like, God, man, like $10,000 guitars have become quite common, you know? all the Murphy Lab stuff and everything. It's like, there's no, like, I'm out. Sorry, not paying that for a new guitar. Not interested. $10,000, you know. I know what it takes to make an American guitar at a custom shop, you know, and I know that aging and all that takes more time, but you know, my own guitars are, you know, in the upper 3K now, in the just over 4K for the, you know, this version of the guitar, because we're doing the FU tone bridge, which is a very, very custom item and not inexpensive. So this bridge has got titanium inserts, titanium screws, titanium big brass block, titanium screws to hold down the saddles. All that stuff is, you know, custom. It's a pricey item, this bridge, but the bridge sounds like it's really awesome sounding. It's really got this deep tone to it, you know. So the price of the guitar reflects the bridge. But I was like, screw it. It's the bridge that I like on that guitar, and if people want it, they'll go for it. But it makes the guitar expensive, you know. And so I know what it, you know. But geez, man, some of these prices that we're seeing on, like, and I also know what it takes to build a set neck guitar like a Les Paul over something with a bolt-on neck. There's more, I think, complexity there in the carve at the top and all that, and then like I say, the aging stuff. But 10 grand, it's like the Auras by Sir were 9, you know, and they were all custom done by John, like finished, all the fretwork and everything, you know. It's like when I see these $10, $11, $12,000, it's too much friggin' money. What's my favorite Friedman amp? Oh, that's a good question. You know, for me, probably I would say I mean, the BE with all the option stuff is neat. You know, the BE 50 and the 100, so lots of switches and stuff. To be honest, just his small box, to me, great amp. Like the Plexi channel for a clean, the BE channel for you know, some dirty rock and roll, modern, whatever, and then hit it with a pedal. I think that, you know, I would actually like to have one, you know. That JEL right there, that's a smoking sounding amp. You can hear it in the video that I made for it. Really, really nice sound, you know, kind of JCM 800, but modded to perfection kind of sound. But I would say for most players, you know, just a great all-rounder would be that he struck a balance on the small box. That was nice. You know, all your flavors of Marshall are in there. Pedal preamp section of one of your amps. Oh, like, you know, a signature pedal, you mean, for me? Yes, sort of. You're not far off from the idea that we had. It was more than that, but similar. Pete Thorn, Sir Cocoa Boost. Something like that. I mean, I could see doing something that's maybe a tweaked Riot with a Cocoa in front and a dual pedal. You know, maybe something like that would be an interesting pedal. What if we had a, you know, like a Riot that was just tweaked to be a little more like my, you know, maybe I just tune it in by ear component here and there. And then if you were to hit that with a Cocoa Boost in front and then also be able to get a little bit of a lift of volume after it for a solo boost, then you would kind of have a simple pedal like my channel 2-3 of my amp, you know, something along those lines. Like put it in front of a deluxe reverb and you get a lot of tones, you know. I wouldn't be opposed to trying something like that. I think it would be useful for a lot of players playing in clean amp world. Does the current crop of pedals in the world not leave you wanting something? What do you wish existed? Well, maybe something like I just said, just my version of a, you know, Marshall in a box with lead boost that's tuned the way that I think it should be. Wouldn't be unlike the Engine from Drybell. I think that it's a killer pedal. There was a Carl Martin that was maybe similar too, with a two button thingy. You know, I love pedals like that. So I use the Unobtainium on my main board here, which is a Dumble style drive on one side and then a Klon on the other side. And I use that with Classic Rock Show a lot. Like when I play certain songs, if anybody saw us, we do like Because of the Night, or we do some Eagles. when I play those songs, it's all the unobtainium doing the drive and the lead boost. I don't go to the lead channel on my amp, the more martially, just a little more vintage, lower gain, but still compressed sustain kind of lead stuff. And I found the unobtainium awesome for that. So I enjoy pedals like that for some things, you know, just clean amp channel with a rhythm drive and then a lead boost. Yeah. Yeah. Michael Brady says the cup cannot be in Florida, the Sunshine State. Sacrilege. Yeah, I'm kind of on that tip, to be honest. I'm a little like, you know, sorry, Florida, but I'm a little like, you guys aren't a hockey state. Come on. Football, okay. You know, I get it. Hockey, if you can't go outside, this is controversial, but, you know, I'm not even like really like a Kings fan, even though I live in LA. It's like, if you can't go outside in the winter and walk to a skating rink outside, I don't know if you should have a hockey team. So I'm looking at you, Vegas. You know, you know, when I used to in the wintertime, if it was anything warmer than minus 15, and maybe even if it was minus 17 or 18 on a Sunday when I was bored, I would put my skates in a bag, walk with my boots and my parka and my toque all the way down to the skating rink and go skate for a couple of hours outside, minus 17. It's not that cold. Just bundle up. You're just fine. That's how we rolled in Edmonton, man. If you can't do that, I don't know about having a hockey team. Am I wrong? Come on. That was Edmonton. We had it in the blood, man. Come on. And I couldn't even skate backwards. I never even played hockey, but I skated. You know, I wish I could have. No, I don't. Leave that to other people. I enjoyed playing guitar. It's also how we got good on guitar up there, right? Because it was too damn cold to go out. Some days it was just too cold to go skating. So then you stay inside and practice all day because there's nothing else to do other than do your homework. What can you share with us about the Sur 212 Deep Cab? Is it anywhere near a 412? That's funny. I got that question was it you that asked as well? Maybe not. Somebody else. It's just a cabinet that I requested more of the depth of a 412 out of. Like, they had a 212, but it was more Marshall 70s dimensions, their original Sur closed-back 212. So it was only about yay deep front to back, kind of like one of the Marshall combos from the 70s, where they're closed-back 212s from the 70s. And I know from experience that, you know, the deeper you go with a cabinet, the more the bass develops, the more apparent kind of bass. So I just requested that we go deeper. And we came up with a spec and ordered some more cabinets and tried it, and it worked, and I liked them. And that's the one that we have, the horizontal 212. It sounds great with the love that cabinet. Really cool sounding. It's got beef, but it's tight still, you know. It's just, I to be honest, like, I don't even really miss the 412 when I use those. They sound great. I used them on tour with Toshi Nagabuchi for years, the 212s, two of them with two PT100s, and it sounded beefy as all hell and like just great. So I've got my 212s here now. I've actually sent my 412s to England to live over there and for British and European tours and stuff like that. And I might just use the 212s here in the States because I got that. They sound great. You know, I really like the speakers too. The Creamback 75s are just great sounding speakers for live. I just feel like they're the best cross between a greenback and then a brighter, clearer thing, which I like for cleans and a little more sparkle. You know, they've just got a great overall, like, you know, that G12H30 thing. But I like them more than most modern G12H30s I've tried, or even vintage G12H30s. Like, I did the G12H30 for me was always like, it sounds cool. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I get it. And then greenback's like, ooh, that's home. I love that. But with the Creamback 75, I sort of always feel like, it's all there. You know, that's what I feel like. Like when I play it, it's like, it's all there. The drive tones, the clean tones. It's like, that's a nice thing where I'm not missing anything or don't really want for anything. It sounds really good. So those are the speakers we use in the 212s. Specifically the horizontal PT100 212. Yeah. Lawrence says he was going to suggest I try Cali Audio as they're nearby, would tune your room. But Barefoots, you're done looking. Those are great. Yeah, they sound fantastic, these speakers. The Barefoots have this little, they've got some DSP built in, and you got this little guy right here that allows you to change the character. So you've got a flat setting that you use most of the time, but then there's a hi-fi setting, old school, which is like an NS10, and then cubes, which are like Oratones. So you can kind of, you got a little quick reference there where you can kind of mix it up and listen with some different curves simulated, you know, so you can check your mix. And anyway, I put these speakers up, man, and the imaging is like, oh, like it's really good. And the guitars sound like I know they should sound. So I put them up and I can mix on these. I know I can, but the bass was more, I tracked some bass through them the other day and it was so defined and like, oh, I can hear what's going on. It's fantastic. So just really, really digging them, you know. So I've got my micro mains as well that I had a little issue with them and I got them fixed. And so I got to put them back up, but I need to kind of go and get them and put them up and stuff. But I've just been getting used to these and I got to say they're great. They're not crazy expensive. They're not inexpensive speakers, but they're $2,000 for the pair, which for a Barefoot and a level, like they're telling me, of course they're Barefoot, they're going to say this, but they're like, there's people with ATCs or other speakers that are, you know, these high end speakers that are $8,000 a pair. And they're picking these over those. That's what they told me. So I said, all right, I want to check them out. Cause I've got a friend at Barefoot. So they got me these to listen to. And I was like, oh yeah, like this, really good, happy. So anyway, when was the last time you used an all analog setup? Analog, like guitar rig? Like with no digital effects at all? I mean, I've always got some digital effects going since the 80s. I think. I don't know that I ever had a whole analog rig. Or maybe you mean like recording? Just in general, I mean, I don't think I've used just an analog, you know, like analog pedals and everything since the mid 80s. I got my Digitech effect thing I mentioned in the video I did the other day in the late 80s. And that, you know, then ever since then, I've had some sort of digital effects in my rig. Analog recording, I did all early stuff on like everything I did in the late 80s, early 90s. Even my first record was done all analog. Well, we had an ADAT with a few things on it that was chasing the analog tape. That was a nightmare. But you know, that first record that I recorded in 95 was released in 96 with a band called Surreal McCoys in Japan. That was analog, so done on a Studer. And then after that, the 40-foot Echo record that we made in the early 2000s, all the drums and bass were cut analog and scratch guitars. And then everything went over to Pro Tools. I don't remember after that if I've done much analog recording. When I was working with Linda Perry, we did some stuff analog just for a vibe sometimes. I think some of the stuff that we did on this unreleased Courtney Love record was, as I remember, we tracked to the Studer. Dripping all over me. My coffee made a mess. Yeah, we would track some stuff on that record analog, I think. I remember it was like specifically, let's track analog, no click. Just, you know, old school. So you never know. Was Jurgen on bass for the private Roxy gig? Yeah, he was when you played Stay With Me. Yes, he was. This is a Chris Cornell gig. I was there. Oh, man, that was one of my, dude, you were at one of my favorite things. You know, that gig, I'm so glad I got to do that gig and you got to see it because that was the last time that I ever played with Chris. So I was there, met you briefly at Cantrell, posted clips as Chris Cornell Roxy West Hollywood 2016. Man, so did you post your clips, you mean? Because if there's more to see, I would love to see it, you know? Please put it up on YouTube or something. Because if, I don't know, I think maybe we've talked before and you mentioned that was all you had, but if it's you that posted the clips. But I wish there was more from that show that came out. Our drummer Blair actually recorded it on a GoPro behind his kit, but you can't really, all you can see is him, and you can only hear the sound from behind the drums. So it's not really like a great mix or anything. But anyways. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, really great you were there, man. That was one of the, that was a great gig, I think, and a great memory. And I just remember doing that show, and my feeling was, I just want to do this again with this guy. Like, because I'm better at it now. I remember thinking that, like, I was 6 years further down the road into touring, and I'd done a bunch of, touring with different artists and stuff like that. Then, like, I did my whole tenure with Don Henley, my whole tenure with Melissa Etheridge, Tyoshi Nagabuchi over in Japan, and Milan Farmer. I did all these different tours, hundreds of gigs, with different artists. And then I got to play again with Chris. And it was the first gig I'd done with him in 6 years. And it was so fun and more natural for me, with just one show. We barely rehearsed. We had 2 rehearsals and only one that he was at. And then we did it. And it was like, oh man, that was good. Like, and I was just like, we got to do this again. Like, I wanted to do it again so bad, that was the last one, but just to chance, you gotta remember in life that there's only, maybe there isn't another, it's like everything could be, you never know. I could walk out of here and get hit by a bus. So, I hope not. I want to see the Oilers win tomorrow, but you got to take it for as it comes. And I'm just so glad and thankful that I got to do that one last show, so, cause it's a great memory, I remember playing Say Hello to Heaven with them. And that was like, it hit different that night, for me. It was really, really, really terrific. So much fun. Anyways, all right. Looking through the thoughts on Queen selling their catalog to Sony. Well, here we are, it's like there's just not the money that there used to be in music. And I guess, people hit a point where, I know the Who kind of did it, and everybody kind of does it. It seems like, where it's like, well, this is going to be, now's the time to kind of, whatever, this is the retirement plan or whatever. And it is what it is. It sucks. It's like music is different now. Now we get into AI, and it's just, we should all be, once again, we should all be thankful, because things don't last forever. And so whatever music was, it's going to be, I'm not saying it'll be worse. Maybe it gets better from here on out. Maybe it gets worse. It just depends. And it's like, God, there's so much dust on my mic pre's. Sorry, ADHD, right? My point is being like, we should be thankful for living through the time that we did, maybe. And then also look towards the future and realize that, like, AI, yeah, that's coming and whatever, but AI can't do what I do. I mean, you're not going to have like, pedal demo for the white whale or whatever, and then AI does I'm still going to sit here and play this stuff. So, and people are going to appreciate the guy doing that, I think, or whatever, playing live, going out and doing a little gig on the corner, somebody with an acoustic guitar. It's like, AI is not going to do that. So I don't know, we got to take it as it comes, man. Yeah. I asked Ace Frehley about Alex Lifeson years ago. He said Alex was an amp player on a much higher level than most. Well, early days, Alex was super Jimmy Page, if we think about those early Rush records and stuff, and the kind of the style and that's what at least how it struck me, so, and then he went from there, and we got into much more proggy. Rush was a totally unique band, though. They started off sounding kind of, Zeppelin-y blues based, and then quickly, once Neil joined, and they went, oh, we got this now, we can go here and go there. It got really interesting, and they just became their own thing. So yeah. How old am I? How old do you think I am? I'm friggin' old as dirt, dude, but I'm not telling you. I don't want to. Do I think a Rocktron Velocity is a good option for wet, dry, wet? Yeah, I would say a good option. I was mentioning there's a great power amp coming that I know of that's going to be really cool. But for now, Velocity seemed like a pretty good, pretty good option for sure, I would say. When I was little, my brother and I had a Gretzky rookie card, and we had in the spokes of our bike tires. Eventually we lost it. Worth thousands. That hurts. That hurts. But how would you know at the time, right? Hey, dude, when I was a kid, I had the opportunity to go to almost every Oilers home game because my dad had season tickets in the 80s. The Oilers, like, and I was a music nerd, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go tonight. And he would take someone else often, you know. Now it's just like, you idiot. Like, once again, I should have been like, go hang with your dad and go see the Oilers, you know, like. But I went to plenty of games, but I wish I'd gone to more. I wish I'd gone to them all at this point, you know. It's like, how do you know, things in retrospect, or, you know, hindsight's always 20/20. But anyways, it's funny. I don't think of Alex being underrated. I think of him from the 70s, early 80s when he was a guitar god. He really was. He was very well respected then. But there's also not a ton of info on how he was doing what he was doing as there is with other players. Like the tonal thing with Gilmour. There's entire websites, and like, I know there's some Rush Geek stuff like that, but I don't think it's as people don't talk about Alex like they do Gilmour, you know, or Eddie Van Halen, or not in retrospect, you know. Yes, there's always a respect for him for sure, but I feel like it should be greater, and the interest in what the things he was doing. I mean, I'm like really interested in the sounds. I mean, some of his sounds from, man, like Moving Pictures, Digital Man is one tune that, or sorry, what's the last tune on? I could just blow out the ads and not make any ad money off this by playing some right now. Maybe I should just do that. Let's see here. Because I can do that with my setup here. Moving Pictures. Let's just do it. Who cares? 40th anniversary. Is it Vital Signs? I think it is. Okay, you guys are going to hear this, I think, in full stereo. Let's see.
The feverish flux of human interface and interchange.
Are you hearing that as clear as I think you should be? I think you are, right? Oops, I missed some super chats there. I'm going to go back and get them. That sound good? Vital Signs. Can you hear it okay? Somebody let me know in the chat if you can hear it okay. I think you can.
Everybody need a mood lifter. Everybody need reverse polarity. Everybody got mixed feelings about.
What about Witch Hunt?
The lonely talk.
The song I'm actually thinking of is on Singles, which is Digital Man. So I'm going to go find that. I'm going to share my... is it Digital Man? Yeah. F sharp 11 chord, right? All that chorus. This guitar tone in the chorus.
It's been a long, long while in Babylon. Like a lover's wings to fly on to a tropic isle of Avalon.
F minor, F sharp 11.
Is under anesthetic, subdivided and synthetic. His reliance on the giants in the science of the day.
Oh my God, I'm getting the chills listening to that. I love that tune so much. Sounds like Flanger, says David. Well, it might be the Electric Mistress, because he kind of used the electric mistress more like a chorus, you know, as a lot of people. I mean, Andy did too, Andy Summers. So it's interesting, but I just love those tones. So copyright police are knocking. Yeah, for sure. I'll be sharing my I don't care, whatever. This show isn't about making money. But anyways, it sounds so damn good, doesn't it? So I love those tones. This album also has Losing It on it, which to me is one of the greatest Rush tracks, because I love the lyrics. I love the whole concept of what's the lyric in it? Like, is it easier to, you know, never have had the skill or the talent, you know, and then what it's like to lose it or whatever? Is it easier to have never had it and just be mediocre? You know, I love the concept of the song, Losing It. And then it's got that beautiful solo by Ben Mink, the violin solo on the end. Just a little music appreciation. We'll listen to a little. It's such a melancholy tune, right? It's a electric violin. Love that. God, it's so beautiful. So good.
For you, the blind who once could see, a bell tolls for thee.
For you, the blind who once could see. How sad is that? Oh, God. It's great, man. You know, people that think that Rush is all, there's so much heart in it, you know? It's so good. Yeah, those note choices were stupid, awesome. Yeah, the whole solo I can almost sing in my head, and a lot of it's just kind of random, but it's Ben Mink. Somebody was asking who it is. Ben Mink played with Katie Lang a lot later and stuff. They did on one of the last Rush tours, they had somebody come out and play violin on that, and it wasn't Ben. Or maybe it was Ben. Maybe he did come and do it. I can't remember, but it's so cool. It's one of the only guest things on a Rush record, you know? Like appearances, and it's so good. I kind of wonder how it happened. There's something else I'd like to ask Alex. Like, how did that collaboration happen? Was it just organic? Was he in this next studio or something working, and then, or did they think this would be a violin solo would be, you know? But it's so cool. Like, anyways, I was also, you know, people might not know this about me, but I started on violin. So at the time when that came out, I was probably still playing, I think. And I was sort of contemplating, oh, it'd be cool to have one of those Zeta electric violins or something. And you know, so anyways, some super chats that I've missed here. I need to go back through the chat and look, but because of your sacrifice, thank you. It sounds good, right? I never do this, like play the music through. I've got a virtual channel set up with my streaming setup so that I can actually play things, and it should sound, I think, full quality, like really good. You know, proper stereo and everything, and should translate really well. So anyway, so great. But yeah. Alex has been reached out to about Pete's Sunday chat. He wanted to talk Envy of None, though. So everybody, I would be happy to do that. You know, yeah, I'd love to talk to him about anything he wants to talk about. So 100%. I mean, so many great New World Man. There's another tune. That New World Man was a song, I guess, that they wrote and recorded really quickly. That's on this same record. We could listen to it a little bit if you want to. Why not? You Cool panning. So it's a high. It's a high watt, I believe, and his Telly reissue. I think it's an early '80s Butterscotch Telly, one of those Fullerton reissues, the first kind of 52, and you can see him play it, live and stuff like that. But yeah, so great guitar sound.
He's a rebel and a runner. He's a signal turning green. He's a restless young romantic, wants to run the big machine. He's got a problem with his poisons, but you know we'll find a cure. He's cleaning up the system to keep his nature pure. Learning to match the beat of the old world man.
Bass.
Learning to catch the
God, like Yeti. Oh my God, so good. His aggression on the bass was he was so confident, like in his, oh God, it's so cool. Just the way his attack is like nothing else, because there's a lot of grind and fret noise and stuff in it. And he's like, he doesn't care. It's just like so cool, so great. So anyways, yeah, I'm just looking back through the chat here because I know I missed a couple super chat, and I don't want to do that. Here's one from Live to Play Guitar from Canada. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And another one here from Dave Miller. Is a Rocktron Velocity? You were asking about that. I think it is. Yeah, I would totally do the Rocktron if you were looking for something current. You want something rack. Rocktron's a great choice. The Matrix is a great choice. Nice and light. An old Moss valve. Good choices for wet, dry, wet. Nobody, maybe these days wants to lug around a big heavy H&H, but they were the best. So, yeah. An Aura is 10K. Yeah, Auras went for 9 something, I think. I think they were 9K. But, that reflected the price of John actually personally building, because he did all the fretwork and finished each one. Not the finish, but the fretwork, the finish and fit and finish, the fret dressing, hammered in the frets himself, did the nut, did everything, all the final setup and everything. He did all that work. So all that important final stuff. Yeah, he did. So yeah. There's Dave with a super chat as well. Thank you very much. And Live to Play Guitar again, once again. Hey, thanks you guys for the super chats. I appreciate that, and being a part of my little music appreciation. I think I caught all the super chats there. I suppose I should go. It's 2:01. I should make this this video. I'm gonna hang for another 10 minutes or so, just because I'm having a lot of fun, and then I'm gonna split. So, did you ever release your Tonex amp pack? No, I should probably do that though. So, I'm gonna make, because I got this new pedal board, so I'm gonna set up to make some more captures of everything that I could use and want in my little Tonex, just for having a direct board. And at that point, I want at least, it's not going to be a big pack. It's going to probably be like 10 captures of just like primo stuff, like the ones from the Germino here, my 72 Marshall, stuff like that. So once I get all those in there, probably my top hat, I'll just fine tune them, get them in there, and then I'll have a pack of like 10, and it'll be reasonably priced, and just kind of, meat and potatoes amp tones. Yeah. Watch this vid gets 100 million views, but is now demonetized. I don't mind sharing some money with Rush. That's okay. So many fond memories floating back, listening to this song. I love it. I love listening to old Rush too. And boy, it sure sounds good on these new Barefoot monitors too, I gotta say. But reaction videos with Pete Thorn. Yeah, maybe it's a thing. Maybe I should do more of that, like just a little music appreciation listening. So do you have a solo CD in the near future? Well, we're just talking about that earlier in the show. I was thinking of doing a kind of a clinic called Inspired by the Tone, is what I'm thinking of calling it. And, you know, coming up with like 8 different pieces of music, you know, that are very dialed into a certain sound and an aesthetic kind of sonically, and putting it all together and then describing how I got the sounds and how the part came out of the sound and everything, and developing a whole clinic around that about how you can get inspired by certain guitar sounds. Because a lot of you guys will buy things like a pedal and then you might get it and go, what do I do with this? And then I just want to show my take on what I would do with it, sort of thing, like in parts that I come up with and stuff. So that's my thinking. And then maybe the record comes out of that, you know, because I got to get it done. I was talking a little bit last week about how I think I'm a little ADHD and stuff and all over the place. And maybe I need to get a little more focused again and just kind of bear down a little more and get some, and it's only going to come from me. I have to focus and do it. Nobody's going to make me do it, you know? So this is a way. How do I, you know, I want to travel and I want to do more clinics and stuff and do more centered around my thing. Maybe I need to, I always feel like I can't just show up and do a Pete Thorn clinic at whatever, and then I just jam over some tracks. I don't want to do that. I want, if you guys come to see me at a clinic, I want there to be a theme and for you to walk away. Because I feel like that was my first clinics that I did were value added, kind of, you know, like hopefully you came away from it inspired with some ideas and some, my previous clinics. So, and inspired by the Tone Clinic is what I'm thinking. So I think we may need another show with John. Sure, I would love to do that. I haven't had a guest for a long time. So Lauren says, can Peter Frampton hook you up with Alex Lyson? I've actually there's another thing that might happen that may or may not, so I don't want to jinx it, but with Alex. So we'll see. And I really hope, because it'll be, if it happens, it'll be done really nicely and done right. So I hope that comes together, and then we'll see what comes out of that. But, you know, yeah, I won't say more now. Yeah. What's your thought on the Beat Tour this fall for Crimson? I mean, I think it's awesome. Just terrific, you know, going to be really cool. Obviously, great personnel, world class. And I love that era of King Crimson. Some of those songs, Frame by Frame, and those Monte Kudasai and stuff. That'd be exciting to see. So I would love to see a show. Andy Summers, also highly underrated. Yeah, I mean, I agree. The Police, for me, that era of late 70s, early 80s, Rush and the Police, I have similar feelings. I mean, the unique thing that was going on with both bands, and the it was a great time in music, you know, where there was an explosion of creativity and it just, you know, oh, this is interesting. Look at this. Rob says, I used to see Rush at a bar on Bloor Street called the Gaslight. I thought they were a Led Zeppelin cover band, and then Neil joined and everything changed. Wow, that's so cool. You know, what an interesting time to have gotten to see them, and that's so cool. You know, I wish I'd seen some bands. I guess I saw Guns N' Roses before they got big. I saw them when nobody knew who they were. You know, other bands, not too many others I saw when they were all already big. So it's like some of these bands I would have loved to have seen. I would have loved to have seen Van Halen, obviously, in the club days. I've got friends that have told me stories, you know, it sounds so cool. You know, just different bands. I've talked to people that saw Hendrix in small places, and just so interesting. You know, I'm fascinated by all of that. Police also recorded at the studio. Did they really? I didn't know that. That's interesting. What did they do there? That's interesting. Would love for you to have Matt Bruck on. I'd love to have Matt on to talk. Matt's a great guy. He kind of, you know, got a little out of the whole, because, you know, he reminded me a while ago, and I was like, oh yeah, he used to do a column for Guitar World back in kind of the early 2000s, I guess. And then as the online thing kind of grew, he sort of backed off, because I don't think he liked it necessarily, like the kind of the, you know, the message boards, and people could be really mean and all that kind of stuff. And he's just like, I don't need this in my life a little bit. And I totally understand that, you know. So, But I think he's warmed to it a little bit. He's a good. I love Matt. He's a great guy. Geez, man, nobody has more guitars and amps than Matt. Well, maybe John Shanks, but Matt's got a hell of a. He's always got a different thing that he's either pulling out of the woodwork to either get tweaked or repaired or different. But what an amazing collection of you ask about it, he's probably got it. High watts and Marshalls and Sound Cities and boxes and on this speaker and that version of this amp and different stuff. He's got it all. Pretty wild. Any future collab interviews with Tim Pierce? I would love to do more with Tim again too. Maybe I should get another, just contact him, see if we could do another during the pandemic, I think was the last time I had him on my show. So love to do another meeting with him on here. Little Tim and Pete. I think they did Ghost in the Machine at the studio. Did they really? Did they? I didn't know that. That's really interesting. I have to look that up for sure. I've been making quad Cortex patches with double amp and cab separating left to right outputs. Have you toyed with this? No, not so much, but I bet it's cool. Kind of, one way to get a layered sound, but no, not too much. I haven't. There's some producers that are really big on like, for example, Michael Beinhorn, was like, oh, you got to, layer 2 amps. It's amazing. And I just haven't done a lot of that. I generally like cut a part with an amp, cut another part with an amp. So nature of my studio and stuff, I don't really have it set up to easily track, more than that. Like probably most of us, right? Got a couple mics, a couple mic lines run out to my live room, one cabinet out there. That's kind of my setup. I don't have like, a ton of stuff set up where I can run like 2 amps at once and do, if I'm doing that, I'm doing it in here and kind of, it's complicated. So, but, like for example, I know Super Unknown was a rectifier and a JCM 800 style, or maybe a 70s Marshall 2203 or 2204 style master volume Marshall and a boogie rectifier. That's that layered kind of grindy rhythm sound. I mean, it's those 2 amps. So that's the idea, I guess. 2 amps, 2 cabs, complex that you can't get out of one. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Todd says, hope you have a great birthday. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. Everybody watch the Oilers tomorrow. Root for them, please. Come on. They gotta bring it home. Bring the cup home. They deserve it. Lots of hard work. And Eston Roy says, gotta go. Thanks again for making Sunday so awesome. I should go too. Hope you have the best birthday ever. Thanks. Rooting for the Oilers. Hey, I'm going to leave it on that note because that's just really kind. Appreciate that. And I hope that that you guys all have a terrific week. Be nice to one another out there. Thanks for all your super chats. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Rush for the fun tunes and being a part of the show today. And hope everybody's just having a terrific time out there. Enjoy. It's hot as hell. It's the longest day of the year and all that. But let's live for the day. Right? Everybody take care. Talk to you soon. I'll see you next Sunday. Ooh. Before I say that. Okay, wait. Just before I go. What's going on next Sunday? Sunday's the 30th. Little touch and go on next week because I am actually going to be out of town. So Sunday live. I hate doing this, but I might have to alter the time for the next because I fly back then again the following week. So Sunday the 30th, I'm going to be. Let's see. Oh, it's only that 1 week. Yeah. I'll be back the 7th. I'm cool. So next week, maybe I do an abbreviated live stream or maybe something else. I'll put up a watch page ahead of time as I do sometimes. But I'm going to Europe to see my friend Matt play with AC/DC. And I'm going to be in Paris for a couple of days. And I'll be in Paris on the 30th next week. So may or may not do a little live stream. If I do, it'll be quick and it'll be from, the banks of the Seine or something as I drink a glass of rosé looking at the, I don't know, whatever. One of the bridges. We'll see. All right, everybody. Have a great week. See ya.